Hey everybody, welcome back to Shock and Schlock. I'm your host, Herschel Gillis, and today is day 12 of my 31 Days of Horror reviews. Today is going to be a sort of a different review. Probably none of you, but maybe one of you has seen my review of this film that I did originally. And why am I re-reviewing something? Well, that's because I reviewed this film, hated the video that I made, didn't articulate my points. It was my first video that I ever made, and I deleted it. It's no longer on the channel. Just wasn't happy with it. I'm coming back and do a proper review, give my full thoughts on this film, explain its content, and its personal effect on me and my horror experience, whatever. It's of course the most disturbing movie ever made. Not really, but a lot of people say it is. That I'll explain why. A Serbian film. This is one that sort of has gained almost mainstream, at least notoriety. It's very controversial. And as far as extreme cinema, this is like a blockbuster film, sort of. Just because this film has transcended being like this underground film because it's become so infamous that it's become like a widespread horror thing. And even people that aren't into underground or extreme cinema, that are into more mainstream horror, at least know about this one. And everybody in extreme cinema has either seen this one or heard about it as well. It's banned in several countries, notably Australia, Spain, New Zealand, Malaysia, Norway, the Philippines, and was temporarily banned in Brazil. It was cut heavily to get an NC-17 in the US. It has since been released in one uncut version, but I believe Unearthed Films is releasing a 4K of this with even more content, so I don't know how that happens. But there's also a Serbian documentary about the making of this coming out as well. But yeah, but what's it about? So the film follows Milos, a father, family man, who is an ex-adult film star. He's approached by a friend of his to be in this new art movie by a very affluent, experimental, weird, and mysterious director named Vukmir. Vukmir he lives in this opulent mansion. He obviously has a lot of money, huge production crew and everything, so Milos is he asked his brother to look into this. He's a police officer. He asked him to look into him. Everything sort of, there may be a couple of red flags, but it clears out for the most part because the amount of money that Milos has promised for this film is massive. So he wants to do something that'll, help his family going forward. And Milos begins filming and enters this world of necrophilia, pedophilia, and stuff. He, of course, is disturbed greatly by this and tries to leave after he sees one specific part, which I won't spoil here, but people that have seen this know what I'm talking about. And, I'm sure a lot of reviewers have talked about it. The most shocking scene in this. Yeah, I may talk about it later in this video when I'm discussing the content of this one. But, yeah, he leaves and is forced to come back in. I won't spoil that because that's the second half of the movie is sort of where everything happens, or most of it. And I won't spoil the ending or anything like that. So yeah, this goes to hell. Yeah, that's the basic plot of this. It's very infamous, of course, as I mentioned, for the reasons above. Now the question is this film as disturbing as people say? Probably not. I've seen this a few times. And as far as extreme cinema goes, this film is very well shot, edited, directed. The cinematography is great. The soundtrack is great. The acting is great. But at the end of the day, this is one of those films that, it's very stylized. It looks like a big budget movie. Just the content and ideas discussed are very disturbing. There are also people, including the director, that says there's underlying social commentary about the way people are treated in Serbia. I don't know anything about Serbia, so I can't really speak to that. But in my opinion, there's no way that a lot of the content in this film was intended to do anything beyond shock you, which is fine. horror doesn't need to have like an underlying meaning all the time. I just think it's kind of silly. People try to like make excuses for it rather than just like admit that they enjoyed the film. Stupid. Um, but yeah, um, you see a lot of people in like the mainstream horror community saying this is the most disturbing movie of all time, or people touting it as that, and a lot of them haven't actually seen it. Now, having seen the uncut version several times now, what do I think? Well, first off, I think it's a good movie overall. Um, as I mentioned, the acting, cinematography, the music is great. The main like theme of this movie, like the music theme, fantastic. One of my favorite music themes ever. It's like this hard hitting synth soundtrack. I really like the editing style in this film. I like how it's shot really well. Like the cinematography is immaculate in this movie. I mean, when you're looking at extreme cinema, a lot of the time people sacrifice how the film is shot to make it disturbing, or it's because of the low budget. This is obviously like a film that looks like it has a high budget. It looks like a mainstream movie, um, but the content is not, obviously. Um, and I feel the content in this movie, some of it is so over the top that you can't take it serious anymore. And I think for those reasons, this is not the most disturbing movie of all time. I know that's subjective, but as someone who's seen a lot of stuff, this film is certainly more watchable than a lot of stuff that you'll see in extreme cinema. Stuff like the August Underground trilogy. Um, while I'm not the biggest fan of those personally, I think they all feel too similar. I think the basic idea is good, but I have some issues and stuff that I like, but whatever. I think that's probably like the most disturbing cinema that you have without getting into like real violence or animal torture or anything like that. And even in that case, there are some movies like, Cannibal Holocaust has animal violence and cruelty, which is disgusting and silly and pointless, but the film is not as disturbing as this. So it's all subjective and everything there, but I think in my mind, the most disturbing movies of all time that are not like, gore tapes or any of that weird stuff or shockumentaries even, just like standard cinema, would be August Underground, The Bunny Game, Slaughtered Vomit Dolls, and um, August Underground, I think I said already. Oh, Melancholy Durango, that's what I was looking for. That one does have real animal cruelty in it as well. I'll come and review that movie eventually. If I haven't already, I don't even remember. Um, but yeah, this is like the popcorn movie equivalent of extreme cinema. But the content is disturbing. I do want to clarify that this is not a film for sensitive viewers, okay? There is very graphic violence. There is necrophilia. And it's all done very seriously. There's not like humor in this. Like, in the case of the necrophilia, this is a weird thing to say. To start out a sentence with in this case of necrophilia. This is not like the necromantic type where it's kind of funny in the dark way. This is very serious and gross. The pedophilia in this is extremely graphic and disturbing. Obviously, there's not a lot shown. When it is, it's always with, it's obviously a doll. It's in a couple of parts and there's implied other things and it's gross. But I also think that, that idea is discussed in other movies a lot of the time where it's disturbing and effective and everything like that. But in this case, it's more controversial because it's much more in your face. But yeah, it's a decent little horror movie. My main issues with it is I think some of the dialogue is really silly. Especially for Milosh's brother. They're like complete nonsense things that he says are like very on the nose or silly things. And the sexual dialogue, a lot of the time, like just in normal conversation, would not be something that's believable or what anyone ever would say. the situations and everything get more unbelievable as it goes on. So I mean that it definitely loses its impact as it goes on a little bit. Um, and it certainly is, shocking just to be shocking. There's not um, a lot of substance to some of this. It's still worth a watch if you haven't seen it. Um, Not for sensitive viewers, but if you're watching my channel, you're probably not one of those people. Um, but yeah. Now, personally, I did mention the one thing, the part. There's a part involving a baby, that is very disturbing. That is the one part of this movie that, after all this time, I'll admit that I fast forward through that part. I've seen it once, don't need to see it again. Um, just gross and, yeah, shocking just to be shocking. And yeah, that's another detractor from the movie. I don't think that needed to be in there at all. Um, Personally, this is one of the films that got me into extreme cinema, though. And I want to talk about that a little bit. The first extreme cinema type movie that I ever watched was Cannibal Holocaust, which I think is what a lot of people's first was. I'll do a review of that eventually, too, and sort of like a classic thing. And, I was probably 15 or so when I watched that. And it's human nature to, seek out things like that. Sometimes if you're interested in it, you're like, you have this morbid curiosity, like, what's more disturbing? And if you look up the most disturbing movies of all time, the classic answer that comes up, that's frequently number one, is this. Um, and this is one that sort of is passed around by moviegoers, and they're like, this is it. This is the peak. So that was me. I was sort of, interested in extreme cinema at that point, and I was looking for the next nasty thing, and I watched this. And this is the one where it's like, if you watch this is like really the point, the line in the sand where it's like, is extreme cinema for you or not? And if this is too much for you, you're not going to want to go further than that. And it sets a lot of people's limits. For me, I wanted to find out more, and then, I just kept exploring more and more stuff, and I've gone to that, and that made me want to start a YouTube channel. I've met a lot of people in the community. I've interviewed great people, and I learned to appreciate a lot of other cinema because of it, and I found a lot of great directors and everything because of it, and a lot of that is attributed to this. Like, this is what sort of started me on that, and for that, I have a lot of memories of it, like watching this and everything, and it's a nice little movie for me personally. Not the film itself as much, but like the everything surrounding it. But yeah, not the most disturbing movie of all time. I hope you enjoyed it, though. This video, I didn't want to. I hate those reviews of like movies like this. Like, oh my gosh, it's so shocking, and it'll make you lose your mind if you watch it. It won't. It's a movie at the end of the day. Okay, there's no real violence. You turn this off, you're back in reality. An adult will be fine if you're, It's a horror movie. An extreme horror movie, but it's not some like world-ending, world-changing. Sorry for the video cutting out there. My phone decided that the storage is full for no reason, when it actually was not full. But yeah, if you haven't seen a Serbian film and you're into extreme cinema, definitely check it out. It's worth a watch. If you're not into extreme cinema and you want to dip your toes in it, after, hearing what I said, go for it if you want to watch it. Even if it's bothersome, it at least is stylized enough to make it, just like a normal horror movie in a way. You can see if it's for you. It's well done for what it is. Some of the dialogue's dumb, but, it's better than some people make it out to be as well. So, I hope you enjoyed that. Come back tomorrow for another review. Going to be doing a Disturbingly Iceberg video finally, because I've had a lot of requests for it, and I've been getting irritated with seeing the misinformation being spread about it once again. So I'm going to be doing a video explaining every film on the iceberg accurately, and breaking down why the iceberg is dumb, and how it doesn't make sense, and I'm going to make my own with different requirements and descriptions for everything, and it's going to be better. So, yeah, keep an eye out for that. But as always, I've been your host, Herschel Gillis, signing off for today. 0 thoughts, 0 editing, 0 brain cells, and 0 planning. I hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe if you haven't. Keep notifications on because I'm going to be doing more reviews every day this month. So keep an eye out for that. Thanks, guys.